For practice at exercise 6.10, wordWrap2, we are to modify the preceding wordWrap method that we wrote previously in 6.9, except this time we accept a second parameter for a PrintStream to write the data, and we need to output the newly wrapped data or the newly wrapped text to a PrintStream rather to a console. So basically we're writing to a file here. We also need to modify the local, we need to modify our program to use a local variable to store the maximum line length instead of hard coding it to 60. So instead of going back to our previous problem, we're going to rewrite it here. So to start this, we'll have a public static void. It's called, or our class is called, the method is called wordWrap2. And then in here we have a scanner input as a parameter. We're also going to have a PrintStream for output. So our scanner is going to read in the file, and then we are going to write to our PrintStream output right here. We need a while loop that'll read every single line of this input. So we'll do while input dot has next line, and in here we will start reading it in. We need a string that will store the current line. We'll call it line, and we'll set it equal to next input.next line, and then we need our line length. So we're going to have a int store the length of line, so line.length. After this, we want to have our lengths. So we're going to have our start length, which as we did last time is equal to 0. We're also going to have our end length, which it says we don't want it to be 60. We want it to be stored in a local variable. So before we have our end, we're going to write another line of code, which is an int, and we'll call it max length. And in here, we'll just set it to 60. And then we're going to use this in place of all the places where we used to have 60. So we're going to set this equal to max length. Then we're going to need our while loop that will print out our lines if it is greater than 60. So we need to use while length is greater than max length, which in this case is 60. We are going to be in this code. And in here, instead of printing to the console, we're going to have output, which is our PrintStream, dot print line. And then in here, we're going to have line dot substring. And then we're going to have our start, which is at 0. And then we're going to have our end, which is the max length. And then after we have this, we are going to need to move our start to be the max length. So start plus equals max length. So we're basically adding this on. And then end plus equals is going to be max length. So if this was 0 and this was 60, our start would now be 60 and our end would now be 120. And then we need to do the same thing for our length, but in the opposite direction. We need to minus the max length from it because we've output that max length, or we've output the length of max length. So in here we're going to have length is equal or minus equals max length. And this is all the code that's going to be in our while loop. After we have our while loop, or if we never run our while loop, we are going to have our output dot print line, where we have a line dot substring, where we need to print out the start and then the length. So we're going to have line dot length to get the current length. And after this, we can just close these up and submit it. After we have all the correct semicolons, we have passed all of the tests. So this is the code for this problem, and wordWrap, the previous problem looks like this. So a comparison is 6.9, and then this is 6.10, slightly different, and this is the code for this exercise.